if you were a betting man, I mean, or just, percentage wise, 1 through 10, what do you think the likelihood is that we get to 304? And what do you think the likelihood is that we at least get to that threshold of 270?
All right. I'll start out with 304. 304, I would say most likely we won't get to 304. Will we get to 270? I absolutely guarantee it, 100%, unequivocally.
Headlines of the day, of course, Donald Trump has won North Carolina, which is absolutely fantastic to hear, now that they've caught up to where we were a week ago when we were calling North Carolina for Trump. Is it not amazing that it's only been a week since the election and yet so much has happened? Now, constitutional lawyer Ivan Raiklin is on the line and on video. He has some breaking news that he wants to share with us. Ivan, welcome to the show.
I just really want to drill down to you that everything you're hearing from the mainstream media, they don't even look at the Constitution. They don't look at Title III of the U.S. Code. Those are the two components that actually determine how the president is elected, along with the state laws. So I wanted to really present to everyone here the path to 270 and beyond for the president. And I also wanted to discuss the timeline. I don't know how much time you're going to give me, but I have enough time, and if you let me explain absolutely everything as it's going to transpire from now until December 12th. And again, these are projections based on current data that we have.
Yeah, please lay it out for us. Obviously, the media has determined themselves as the arbiters of reality, and they'll determine who's the winner and who's not. But that's not reality. The reality is there are laws in place that provide very stringent, designs as to exactly how the votes are counted and what is deemed legitimate. So please lay us out. We'll give you as much time as you need.
All right, absolutely. Thank you. So check this out, guys. The first thing we got to look at to figure out how a president is elected is to read U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 1. And I'm going to take the liberty to read it because it's so important. All right, so you have it up on the screen, the slide, while I read through it and we read it together?
I've got it here on the table, too, if we want to go dot cam, guys.
All right. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice president, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. What does that mean? Why did I underline that part and bold it? I'll say it again. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature, which is in most states, the state Senate and House of Delegates. In Nebraska, it's a unicameral system, so just one. So however they decide to do it, right?
Right, and this is what makes us a republic rather than a democracy.
A republic, a representative democracy. We do not directly vote for the president. It is through the state government. All right, now that we are on the baseline, the same sheet of music, according to the Constitution, which we are bound by. We're not bound by Fox News. We're not bound by MSNBC, CNN, all the media out there that works for the Biden campaign and the DNC. We're not bound by their rules and what they say. We're bound by the Constitution. All right, I think I stressed that enough. Hopefully the folks over there will read it, but eventually they're going to come to what you're about to see here. I'm probably the first one breaking this because I haven't seen anybody out there really breaking it down like this. All right, now that we're there, let me just take you and step you through my legend. All right, these are things that you guys have seen before. Safe, blue, red, likely, leans, and tilts. I want to define it even further, again, because the legend here on the left says, what is the definition of safe? My definition of safe for red or blue is when the popular vote of the state, that we're seeing the numbers all day long for the last week, along with the legislature of the state and the governor, they all are matched up in terms of what party they voted for. Example, Washington, Biden got more votes. The legislature is Democrat, both in the House and the Senate there. and the governor is Democrat. So that's why I put that state and all the other solid blue or red states as safe. Okay. Now let's move on to the next ones. Which ones are going to be likely Trump? This, I don't think it's very contested. It's going to be Alaska and North Carolina. What does that mean? Trump is leading. We're waiting on the mail-in votes from the military and other folks. And there's also a Republican legislature and a governor that is Republican. And again, it's safe also because it's uncontested, and likely red because it's uncontested by the Biden campaign. All right.
And now we have even mainstream news has already given North Carolina to Trump at this point.
Okay, so that must be new. I hadn't caught that yet while I was working on this.
Yep, as of about an hour ago. Yep.
At this point, should be updated, right? So now we're moving from, and again, I don't trust the mainstream media. I'll wait on that one until I receive confirmation from the Board of Elections, essentially stating that it's been called for North Carolina, right?
Right.
So I'm going to keep that right now as a likely, but it's getting close to safe. And the reason being is because it has a Republican legislature as well. Again, the legislature is the one that decides how the electoral votes go. It helps when the popular vote is on the same side. Okay, leans red. Georgia and Arizona. Georgia, Arizona. What do we have there? Right now, it's leaning to, right now, I think the numbers are where Biden is leading in both of those states, just barely. However, you have, it's contested. So when it's contested, I cancel the two out as a net neutral because it hasn't been confirmed who won. And so how do we do the breakout in terms of the tiebreak? Well, there's a Republican legislature, and on top of that, there's a Republican governor. Now, the Constitution doesn't specify exactly what role the governor plays, but Title III, which I won't get into too much detail here because it'll play out later, a governor also has a component in electing the president. I guess I'll say it. The governor is the one that transmits the electoral votes to the U.S. Senate, presided by the vice president. So
okay.
We'll get into that in later episodes. I just wanted to make sure that we get an understanding of the breakdown of why Trump. I'm essentially stating today the numbers show that Trump gets 304 and Biden gets 234. All right, let's move on. Tilt red, which is the slight favorable to Trump. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. So as a baseline, even though the popular vote currently, again, it hasn't been certified, the popular vote currently in those three states lean towards Biden. But that is canceled out because there are issues to be resolved. And I'm going to go into detail on all the issues for all these states. However, it leans towards Trump because, again, the legislature in all three of these states, in fact, in all of the contested states minus Nevada, is Republican. All right, now, last one. You see a few here. Most people ask questions of stuff that I don't cover, but let me just briefly address Nevada and Nebraska and New Hampshire.
We'll tell you what, we got to go to commercial break, but we'll cover those when we get back. It's Ivan Raiklin. He's a constitutional lawyer, and I'm glad you're here to explain this because I actually saw this graphic floating around Twitter, and I saved it myself, but I saw it right before the show, so I didn't have time to delve into it and kind of work out exactly what it means. So I'm glad you're here to explain in detail exactly what we're looking at here. So we'll be back on the other side to break down the rest of this map, and we'll lay out what happens in the next few weeks. All right, folks, welcome back to the War Room. I'm Harrison Smith, sitting in for Owen Schroyer, who is on his way to Tallahassee, Florida, and we invite you all to join him there. Go to parler.com, and the account to follow is Stop the Steal Caravan, stopthestealcaravan.com. But I'm here with Ivan Raiklin. He's a constitutional lawyer, and he put together this incredible graphic that lays down where we are now in terms of the election. Not what the media says, not the projections by Fox News, CNN, and others, but the actual legitimate legal process and where we lie now. So you've explained sort of some of your reasoning for why you call states one way versus another. Moving on, what can we expect over the next few weeks, or where do we go from here, Ivan?
Okay, so did you want me to finish up the other ones that I have, or you want to move on to the map?
Well, we got one last segment. We got about 10 minutes. So whatever you need to say in 10 minutes, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. So just to close out the left side column here, likely blue. The reason why I don't call Nevada yet is because there is currently a contest. There's lawsuits pending. Depending on how those transpire, we'll see whether or not Nevada goes blue. I'll just say that.
Got it.
And then New Hampshire, you can take a look here, as well as Nebraska. The reason why Nebraska is that color is because they allocate their congressional district electors by congressional district. It's over here on the right. So the second congressional district in Nebraska went for Biden. However, the congressional candidate was the Republican that won, and there was a pretty significant gap between the performance of the Republican overperforming Trump. So that's worth scrutiny. And again, the legislature in Nebraska, as well as the governor, is Republican. So as a last resort, there may be a change there in how the electoral vote is tallied. Okay, moving to the right. This is what we're looking at moving forward. This process expected to last through December 8th. Why December 8th? Well, because Title III of U.S. Code states that the electors are selected, is the deadline that the states have to select their electors by that date, December 8th. And December 14th is when the governor transmits them. So that's why I'm including governor in the analysis. You could further figure that one out. So if they're of the same party, it's going to be easier to transmit those electors over to the U.S. Senate when they vote on it on January 6th at 1 p.m. for the president. The media doesn't talk about this because it's too much detail and it requires too much research. All right, let's look at the details here. Currently, Trump at 213, Biden at 223, and I'm going to walk you through how that goes up to 304 as these wins start being racked up over the next few weeks. Basically, the next 28 days, this is what's going to happen. North Carolina, which is 15 electoral votes. We basically already talked about that. Looks like it's already done. Alaska is also going to be done. I have here listed, when the certification dates are. So that's pretty much the drop dead date on how that state's going to go, unless there's a lawsuit. Because these two states don't have any contests, we're going to smooth sailing over the next week. Expect to get both of these states called by everyone, to include the idiots that are out there from the corporate media. All right, recounts. The states that are currently that I'm tracking, and maybe something came out late breaking today. Georgia is expecting a recount once the canvassing is complete. Arizona is potentially in a position where if the vote is 0.1% in proximity with each other, that will trigger a recount, as well as Wisconsin. Their recount is planned for 15th through the 23rd of November, and they have to certify by the 1st of December. Again, still have time, so that's going on. Now, audits. The difference between a recount and an audit is massive. An audit is maximally invasive in terms of assessing the credibility, legitimacy of every single vote. It's not 100%, but it's the best we can do. So what's going on? Georgia is actually, the legislature is calling for an audit. In Pennsylvania, I've seen reports that the Pennsylvania House Speaker is calling for an audit. Now, I didn't see that the entire legislature called for it, but if the Speaker's asking for it, that's an indication of this. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct. So the Speaker of the House is putting something out, probably talking to, I don't know this for sure, probably talking to the state Senate Majority Leader, who are both Republicans. So we'll see how that plays out. If an audit needs to happen, they will do an audit. Again, this is critical details that you need to know to understand that this map shows reality. Now, lawsuits. There are state lawsuits and federal lawsuits. As far as I'm tracking right now, we have Michigan. I think they're looking into some irregularities with the glitches, if you want to call them that, the software issues. Obviously, the software issues are occurring systemically. So that's that. I don't even include investigations regarding that because it hasn't really reached the threshold yet of filing a lawsuit in most cases. In some cases, it has. So Michigan, Pennsylvania, in addition to audit and recount, Nevada, lawsuits, and the federal lawsuits. So 14th Amendment claims. The one that we've heard the most about is Pennsylvania. Obviously, Pennsylvania is the most important, has the most electoral votes, and it has multiple actions going on. That's why it can't be called not even close. You have recounts, you have an audit expected, and then you also have concurrently lawsuits in Pennsylvania. So the Supreme Court case in the federal courts. So it was initiated in Pennsylvania. There's been back and forth. The last ruling was a 4-4 decision when the court was just 8 people. Now it's a 9-member Supreme Court, which will now be in a position to actually adjudicate what comes out of the 14th Amendment. So they're focused on the Equal Protection Clause to ensure that one live person gets one vote, and his vote is not, his or her vote is not diluted by a dead person, by a person that's not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's going to be a decision on whether or not to count ballots that were late. So that federal Supreme Court opinion, although they're requesting a remedy that's focused on Pennsylvania, that's going to have sweeping effect. Potentially the entire country's, all 50 states and Washington, D.C. Are going to, the late ballots potentially could be thrown out and really change the dynamic of the race to include Nevada, right? As well as the other contested states. So I'll leave that right there. That pretty much detailed. Oh, and one last thing I'll say is based on these components. So if you look on the right side, we start off at 223. North Carolina, Alaska puts Trump at 231. The recounts, if they're all successful, bring them up to 268. If the audits are successful, it brings them up to 288. If the lawsuits are successful in all these states, then it brings up to 304. Now, it doesn't have to go to 304. We don't need to win in every single instance. It just needs to be enough to get to 270.
Yeah, so the 304 is kind of the best case scenario. Everything goes Trump's way. What do you think sort of...
Actually, there's an even better best case scenario, which brings them to, let's see here, 3... let's see here, 1, 4, 6, that's 10, 11 more, so 315. That's the ultimate best case scenario, is 315. But I didn't really want to go there because that I mean, it's a significant stretch. So the real best case scenario, best case is probably more like a 310.
So what do you think? What do you think the odds are? If you were a betting man, I mean, or just, percentage wise, 9 out of, 1 through 10, what do you think the likelihood is that we get to 304? And what do you think the likelihood is that we at least get to that threshold of 270?
All right, I'll start out with 304. 304, I would say most likely we won't get to 304. Will we get to 270? I absolutely guarantee it, 100%, unequivocally, full stop. There is no possibility that he does not reach 270. I don't see at all a way for that. And I'll tell you why, if you don't believe me.
Please.
Ready?
Yeah.
Popular vote can be overridden by the legislature. What are your questions?
I think you've answered all of them. I think that is a major white pill, as the kids say. I mean, this whole document really gives you a better understanding of exactly where things are and what the actual reality is. As you put it, this isn't the mainstream media dictating what the reality is. These are the numbers on the ground through the system as it was built. Very important stuff. Very good stuff. Share this link. Share this segment, folks. Ivan Raiklin. Follow him on Twitter for more great information like this. Thank you so much, sir.